Imagine a single pipeline stretching thousands of kilometers across frozen landscapes and rugged terrain, carrying not just natural gas, but also the weight of a changing world. That's what the Power of Siberia 2 really represents. At first glance, it may look like just another energy project, a big pipe pumping fuel from Russia into China. But when you dig deeper, you realize it's much more than that. It's a turning point in global energy, in geopolitics, and in the way nations shape their futures. And here's where it gets interesting. This pipeline is more than steel and gas. It's a bold signal that the global balance of power is shifting eastward. As Russia and China tighten their grip on energy cooperation, the West finds itself on the defensive. Before we dive in, if you're finding this kind of analysis valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video and share it with friends who follow global affairs. It helps the channel grow and keeps discussions like this alive. Now let's break down why this project is such a big deal. At its core, the Power of Siberia 2 is enormous in scale. When completed, it will send 50 billion cubic meters of gas every single year from Russia's Yamal fields in the Arctic down into China, passing through Mongolia along the way. That's enough gas to heat and power entire nations, and the route itself is a masterpiece of strategy. Not only does it secure energy for China, but it also strengthens Mongolia's role as a vital transit partner, bringing in revenue and political weight for a country that often finds itself overshadowed by its powerful neighbors. But here's the thing. This isn't just about energy. It's about alliances. It's about a world that no longer looks the way it did even a decade ago. And the timing, it's no coincidence. The announcement came right after the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, where Russia, China, and their partners made it clear they're building something that doesn't depend on Washington, Brussels, or the West's approval. The highest levels of leadership, Putin, Xi Jinping, and Mongolia's president, all gave their green light. The message to the world? A new power axis is emerging, and the West is not at the center of it. Let's talk about sanctions. Western governments, especially the US and the EU, believed sanctions would cripple Russia's economy, isolate Moscow, and make Putin desperate for Western markets again. But the numbers tell a very different story. In 2023, trade between Russia and China hit $240 billion, covering not just energy but also manufacturing, technology, pharmaceuticals, and more. China is now Russia's biggest trading partner, buying more oil, more coal, more LNG than almost anyone else. So instead of breaking Russia, sanctions have done the opposite. They've pushed Moscow and Beijing closer together. And with Power of Siberia 2, those ties aren't just tactical. They're being locked in for the long run. During Putin's recent visit to Beijing, more than 20 new agreements were signed, from energy to tech, including direct deals between Gazprom and the China National Petroleum Corporation. This isn't a temporary marriage of convenience. It's becoming a cornerstone of both nations' future strategies. And this is where I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you think the West underestimated how much sanctions would backfire? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your insights often shape the next videos. For Russia, Power of Siberia 2 is part of its pivot to the east. Moscow lost much of its European energy market after sanctions, but instead of collapsing, it found a massive, hungry partner in China. And this isn't just about gas deals, it's about ideology. Both Putin and Xi openly reject what they see as decades of Western interference and dominance. They talk about a multipolar world, one not dictated by Washington or Brussels. For China, the pipeline is about more than reliable gas. It's about energy security and leverage. As the world's largest energy consumer, Beijing needs flexibility. By diversifying its suppliers and routes, China reduces dependence on US liquefied natural gas, strengthens its hand in negotiations, and builds a safety net against future Western pressure. And China isn't afraid to defy that pressure. Even as sanctions continue, China has kept importing Russian LNG from the Arctic, showing it's willing to chart its own course regardless of Western disapproval. The decision to route the pipeline through Mongolia adds another layer. For Mongolia, this is a golden opportunity: steady income as a transit country and a stronger role in regional politics. For Russia and China, It's about binding a small but strategic neighbor closer to their orbit, creating a corridor of cooperation that further cements the alliance. So, what's the bigger picture here? The Power of Siberia 2 is part of a larger shift toward a multipolar world. For decades, the West had a near monopoly, not just in politics and economics, but in energy flows that shaped global power. That monopoly is fading. The East, led by China and Russia, is asserting its own path. Now, it's worth noting, China isn't putting all its eggs in one basket. While deepening ties with Russia, Beijing continues to invest massively in renewable energy, nuclear, and diversified LNG sources. It wants options because energy isn't just about keeping the lights on, it's about strategic independence. For the West, though, this is a wake-up call. Instead of isolating Russia, sanctions have sped up the creation of an alternative economic and energy bloc. Policymakers in Washington and Brussels now face the challenge of dealing with a world where their traditional tools, sanctions, pressure, diplomatic isolation, don't work as they used to. And beyond politics and economics, there's also a very human side to this partnership. Russia and China are expanding cultural and humanitarian exchanges, education, arts, and people-to-people ties. These kinds of initiatives build trust that lasts beyond contracts and trade deals. And at the leadership level, Putin and Xi's personal rapport, their shared worldview, plays a huge role. They see themselves as defenders of sovereignty against Western interference, champions of a new order where power isn't concentrated in the West. That bond is what gives this pipeline so much symbolic weight. It's not just infrastructure, it's a vision of the future. Looking ahead, the completion of the Power of Siberia 2 will be one of the most expensive gas projects in modern history. Its impact will ripple far beyond energy markets. It will be felt in geopolitics, in global trade, and in the strategies of nations trying to navigate this new landscape. For the West, the challenge is clear: how to adapt to a world where Russia and China aren't isolated, but more connected than ever. Old strategies aren't working, new ones will have to emerge. At the same time, global challenges, climate change, health, economic development, don't respect geopolitical lines. Cooperation will still be necessary, even in this more divided world. The question is, can nations find common ground in a multipolar order? So, to wrap it all up, Power of Siberia 2 is much more than a pipeline. It's a signpost of change. It shows us the East is rising, the West is struggling to adapt, and the global energy chessboard is being rearranged in real time. As gas begins to flow, so too will new alliances, new strategies, and new realities. The world is in transition, and the steel of this pipeline might just shape the destiny of the decades ahead. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. And as always, thank you for watching. It means a lot to have you here as we navigate these seismic shifts together.